Welcome to The Corner Table, a podcast about food and drink in Madison, Wisconsin, produced by the Capital Times. I am your host, Cap Times food editor, Lindsay Christians. This week we have a very special holiday episode for you. My colleague, Jessie Opoien, is the host of an election season podcast called Wedge Issues. She spent the year interviewing candidates for various kinds of public office, and one of her most important questions was, what is your favorite kind of Wisconsin cheese? We then took that list, bought a bunch of the cheeses, and paired them up with some incredible champagne brought by our friend Bob Hemauer from Cork and Bottle on East Johnson Street. This, friends, is how you do the holidays in Wisconsin. Without further ado, I give you Corner Wedge Table Issues. Welcome to the podcasting room, Jessie and Bob.
Hey.
Hi.
So I am Lindsay Christians. I am the food editor here at the Cap Times and the host of The Corner Table. And I am here with
Jessie Opoien. I am the politics reporter at the Cap Times, and I host the Wedge Issues podcast, which is about politics.
And I'm Bob Hemauer. I'm the wine buyer at Tornado Steakhouse and proprietor of Cork and Bottle on East Johnson Street and an amateur political dork. Well, actually, I mean,
every time I go to Cork and Bottle, we talk about politics.
It's true. So. You're not the only one.
Every time I go to Cork and Bottle, we never talk about politics.
You're the only one.
And he's the bridge between us here.
This is a very special episode.
Like the holiday episode's a very special episode.
It's true.
And it is a crossover between The Corner Table
and Wedge Issues.
So perfect. So what we're going to do today, though, is we're going to be pairing cheeses with wine, because the people that you've had on your podcast, you made them all choose their favorite cheese.
I did. So heading into the election this year, I interviewed just about every candidate that was on the ballot. Most of the people who were running for governor, people who were running for U.S. Senate, people who were running for attorney general, lieutenant governor, you name it. I tried to get them in here, and our interviews ranged from, serious policy questions to less serious, not so policy-oriented questions. And I did that because I really wanted to give people a sense of the people who were running for office, right? So at the end of each interview, I would run a lightning round, and we could talk about, what's your favorite book? What did you do to relax? But I always started and ended with two important questions. What is your favorite Wisconsin beer? And what is your favorite Wisconsin cheese? So I have a really good database of a lot of politicians' favorite beers and cheeses.
Were there any people who were like, oh my God, I could never choose, it's too hard?
Well, there are definitely people who I think are just less attuned to the different brands and styles of cheeses. So you got a lot of cheddar. Cheddar was just overwhelmingly the answer that people gave, which is completely legitimate. And then there were people who would get more specific about their cheddars, like, Hooks has a good aged cheddar. And then there were people who were just like, I don't know, maybe a sharp one. And then you had some more, one that stood out was Kelda Roys, who was one of the Democratic candidates for governor, who named, anything by Landmark Creamery, Carr Valley Mobay, and Forgotten Valley Cheese Curds. Very specific cheese preferences
She's into
there.
the cheese.
So that was sort of the range of things. Or even, I think Paul Soglin, who is also running for governor and is the mayor of Madison, didn't even necessarily name a cheese on its own. He likes Swiss cheese on a ham sandwich.
Oh, very specific.
Yeah.
That could be considered a bridge to the, outgoing governor.
Exactly, because, outgoing Governor Walker eats a ham sandwich every day.
You asked everybody what their favorite beer was.
Wisconsin beer, to be clear.
Oh, Wisconsin beer. That is another level of specificity.
It is, indeed.
And, of course, my response would have been, what?
Mm-hmm. You wouldn't have been the only one. Not everyone had a favorite beer.
Oh, and I wonder, nobody said, oh, I'm lactose intolerant, I can't have a favorite cheese.
No one said that. That's true. We did have, I had one candidate who doesn't drink alcohol and another candidate who doesn't like beer, but had, other things that she enjoyed drinking. But no one said they were lactose intolerant. So either none of them were, or they just didn't want to admit it in Wisconsin.
That's a career killer.
Yeah, that might be a tough one.
It's like George Bush getting the blowback from broccoli. You just got to, you're in a leadership position in the state. You have to.
You just got to take it.
Mm-hmm.
Get the lactate and deal.
But we decided that we were going to do champagne pairings today because I like champagne.
You know what? I do too.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
So we're going to pair, I think, maybe open up our champagnes here as we go along, and we'll sort of pair our champagnes with the cheeses. I have a strong sense that, like, looking at the cheeses we've laid out here, some of them we're going to be like, okay, yeah, sure. And then some of them we're going to be like, maybe.
We have, like, the thing about the champagne we have, and they are actually both champagne, not sparkling wine from other regions. It is incredibly versatile in terms of food pairing. I have champagne all the time with all kinds of food. I mean, as much as my budget allow it, which is not very much. But I do it, like, I have champagne with steak. You know, every year for my birthday, it's champagne and fried chicken. It's it's great on its own. You know, it's really versatile. You know, and especially when you have like a diversity of flavors like this, or if you're if you're entertaining around this time of year, having something that is versatile like champagne around is actually really, really helpful. The thing about champagne also is that it is great in victory and in defeat, or in just having the election cycle be over.
Which is a victory in and of itself.
Exactly. Well, for the 3 weeks until the 2020 campaign starts in January. But, we're enjoying it while it lasts, right?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Let's open it up.
Let's open up some champagne.
And let's get started.
All right, so the first one that we're going to open up is that Blanc de Blancs that I told you about. This is Dosnon. This is a really tiny producer in the southernmost part of the Champagne growing region. It actually has the same type of soil that they have in Chablis. It's Kimmeridgian soil, which is like this. It's like seabed, so it's very calcareous.
Perfect. Like a nun's sigh.
That's right.
That's what they say.
That's what they say.
I'm not familiar with that, but
yeah.
I like it.
There's a lot of great turns of phrases in the wine world.
Oh, that's great. We have those in politics too, but they're all cliches.
Wine world too.
We didn't say they weren't cliches.
Yes. The one I think was deployed in the recent extraordinary session was, I may have been born in the night, but I wasn't born last night.
Oh, yes.
That one comes out a lot.
Oh, yes. This is just ethereal. It's so delicious.
Oh, wow.
This is incredible.
I like this.
See, this is why you should take a chance with a knowledgeable wine merchant or somm at a restaurant and go for a brand of or label of champagne that you have never had, because it's vibrant and it's alive, and my mouth it's like watering. There's this kind of really beautiful, sophisticated, long, rocky, stony mineral finish.
If I had this in the Capitol when we were covering a 24-hour extraordinary session, it would have been a little more enjoyable.
Maybe if there was more champagne on the legislative floor, there would be more compromise on the legislative floor.
Yeah, champagne might make people happy.
Obama had the beer summit, and that's great. But I feel like a champagne summit might actually be more productive. But that's just me.
It does sound a little frou-frou, though.
I know. Like
I
said,
it's not
optics.
a very populist message.
This is not the this is not the era for the champagne summit.
No.
So we're starting off here with Colby.
We're going to be going in order, I think, with our cheeses from mild to sharper.
Mild is sharper. But we're going to start with Colby. And you got a Colby from where? Where'd you get it from?
This is from Widmer, Widmer's Cheese Cellars.
Nice,
and we have a Colby here on the table because a few candidates mentioned Colby. Mike McCabe ran for governor as a Democrat, and he grew up near Colby, where we get Colby cheese from.
Is it literally named for the town?
I think so.
Oh.
That's what he said anyway, so I believed him, because you should always believe what politicians say and never check what they say. So Mike McCabe named Colby as his favorite cheese. Mandela Barnes, the lieutenant governor-elect, named Colby Jack, which is just a variant with the marbling. And Scott Walker, our current governor, outgoing in January, named Cheddar as his favorite, but Colby as a very close second.
This tastes like nothing to me. It tastes like salt and boing.
It tastes like my childhood. It tastes like totally coming home after school we would have Townhouse crackers in my family.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, we did too. Yep.
And then it would be this,
like
sliced on a plate, and with that, and then I would, sit and chill and watch shows that people who are younger than me have no idea what they are on Nickelodeon, but they involve green slime.
It's a comforting cheese. Like to me, it does. It tastes like snacks in childhood, or like crackers and summer sausage and watching football or something like that.
This cheese is vote for me, and I will not challenge you. Like, I will make sure
It's
you're
inoffensive.
comforted.
It's mild.
It's the kissing of a baby of cheese.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, true. The most exciting thing to me about Colby is when it's Colby Jack and it's 2 colors.
Yes, and I should say when I was growing up, my favorite cheese was Colby Jack, and I didn't know what it was called, so I just called it Jessie cheese because
Sounds good.
Why wouldn't you?
Get it, girl.
Yeah. Why wouldn't your favorite cheese be named after you?
I approve that. Yeah.
Can we talk about how the champagne
Oh, yeah, for sure.
pairs
You know,
with
so,
cheese?
if you think about what cheese is, right? Cheese is fat. Cheese, and
And I
it's
wish
salty.
you would not remind me
Well,
of that.
It's okay. It's the holiday season. We get to celebrate a little bit.
Yes.
The gym will be there in January.
And really packed.
Yeah,
And I will never be there. It will be there, but I will not.
fair. But if you think about what cheese is, it's fat and it's got salt. If there's any better match for champagne, I can't think of it, right? Because champagne is effervescent. It fills your mouth with, these kind of like, for lack of a better term, scrubbing bubbles, to really kind of cleanse your palate, makes your mouth water, invites you to take another bite, which is why it's really versatile as a food pairing, kind of device across, even in non-traditional kind of settings. Like I said before, with steak, I think champagne and steak is great together for that exact same reason, because it prepares you to have more.
So what you're saying is when I drink this champagne, I will want another bite of cheese, and then I will eat the bite of cheese and want more champagne.
Yeah, that's the definition of virtuous circle.
That sounds perfect to me.
It's delightful.
It's like a really good life.
Yeah.
Speaking
love
of
the
more
holidays.
cheese,
Yeah, let's do some more cheese.
we have more.
Yeah.
We have a lot of cheese here. So next up we have a Munster, and it is a goat cheese Munster
Cool.
because we're fancy here.
Fans.
It is from Natural Valley Goat Cheese in the scenic Kickapoo Valley.
Cool.
Huh.
Yeah, in Cashton, Wisconsin, y'all.
So I didn't know Cashton existed. I also didn't know you could buy Munster that wasn't like pre-sliced from your grocery store deli counter, because that's how I've always had it.
Yeah,
Same.
yeah, fair.
Fair. It's been a staple on many a sandwich in my household. Again, this is sort of a throwback to childhood for
Yeah,
me,
for
I
sure.
think. Eating a lot of sandwiches on it. But we're having the Munster because Governor-elect Tony Evers named Munster as his favorite cheese, which I think, much was made during the campaign about the blandness of both of the candidates for governor. I think we're probably going to find that the Colby may have been the blandest of the cheeses, per Lindsay's harsh judgment.
Harsh but accurate, let's be real.
Tough but fair.
Yeah, tough but fair.
We're going to try this goat Munster now.
I'm like a school marm.
I think this is the first expression of Munster I think I've ever seen with, made from goat's milk. I don't know, that's pretty. I feel like it's uncommon.
I'll say, I can taste the goat in
Oh, yeah,
the
for
Munster.
sure.
It's a little funky.
It's good though. I like it.
I think this is like, for me, this would be deployed at my house often because it does kind of intersect interesting and yet pretty familiar.
Yeah, and also like really, I bet this melts beautiful. I bet
So
it melts really well.
Tony Evers, when he talked about why he likes Munster, he mentioned because it's such a good melting cheese.
Oh, see.
Practical.
So there we go. And the fun little story that he told on the podcast was that he grew up in Plymouth, which is known for its many cheese factories and generally just being a place where lots of cheese comes from. Tony Evers, as the story goes, was working in a cheese factory and did not like cheese, which blows my mind that you could grow up in Wisconsin and not like cheese, but he did not. And one day he was scraping the mold off of the cheese, which was his job at the factory at that point. And for some reason, that was the point at which he decided, maybe I should try this. And he did, and he liked it. And now he says he's just all about the cheese.
Love of cheese through hard work. Is there a more Wisconsin anecdote
very
than that?
Wisconsin story.
So we're opening up here the Champagne Tarlant.
Going to
Cuvée Louis.
Yep.
And this is one that is, you said, the oldest wine in the bottle.
Yeah, this is a really amazing bottle of wine. Champagne Tarlant is, if you can find any of Mel Tarlant, female winemaker, if you can find any of her champagne, it is worth picking up because at every level it's great. The rosé is great. The Brut Nature is wonderful. But this is one of her higher level cuvées, a little bit more special. This is wine that is so. Champagne typically is a blend of wine from different vintages. This is a blend from 96, 97, 98, 99, and 2000. It's aged on, the lees, on the, the yeast for 16 years and then disgorged. It is a incredibly complex, totally different type of champagne than the Dosnon that we had at first, right? The Dosnon was linear and bright and had this steely acidity. This is more vinous. This is 50% Chardonnay, 50% Pinot Noir. This actually tastes to me a little bit more like wine. It has a little bit more depth, a little bit more complexity. To me, it's got a little bit more of those kind of red fruit notes, which when you pair it with kind of the more complex cheeses, I think does interesting things. Like the tall grass in this is phenomenal. But yeah, this is single vineyard, really old, super delicious. And again, it's a small production. This is hands-on winemaking, and the reason why it's worth seeking out some of these smaller houses.
The color is so dark.
I was just going to say, I don't know a lot about wine, but this seems like a very golden, sort of deep, rich color.
Yep. Which
for champagne, which the other one was not. So
yeah, the Dosnon, light, bright, steely. The Cuvée Louis from Champagne Tarlon is it's old, right? So as white wine ages, it gets darker. And that's just a natural kind of byproduct of it. But it is. I would put this on par with any champagne I've ever had, like Krug, any Dom vintages I've had.
This is exceptional.
Yeah.
I honestly could just sit here and smell it, which sounds ridiculous, but
it is not.
I spend more time smelling wine than I spend tasting wine, and I spend a lot of time tasting wine.
I noticed a lot more of sort of those bready notes in the first wine, and I'm getting a lot more of this lovely fermented apple, kind of thing in this one. But one thing I wanted, we were sort of talking before about the differences between sparkling wine and champagne, and one of the differences that you will notice is the bubbles in this are super, super tiny. Really fine. They call it mousse.
Tiny
fine
bubbles.
Mousse. Tiny bubbles.
Yeah, in the wine.
Tiny bubbles in the that's one of the differences, right, between this and a prosecco or something else that's forced carbonated, where it's like a beer, right, where you put it in a bright tank, or whatever the wine equivalent of a bright tank is. You put carbon dioxide on it, but the thing about this is that you get that gorgeous, just super tiny, super fine.
Well integrated, in all parts of the wine. It's just not on the outside that you're tasting; it's in the middle of it too. That kind of the bubbles kind of spontaneously come from the middle of the glass, as well as kind of the imperfections on the glass or the dirt on the glass on the outside.
So, okay, our next cheese is going to be what? We're going to
do a Hooks 10-year.
You got a Hooks 10-year, and you got a 15.
And here's why.
Which we don't deserve, by the way. We are not worthy of the 15.
Look at the champagne that we're drinking.
Fair point. Oh.
Okay.
We're making ourselves, hey, no one's going to make us worthy. We need to make ourselves worthy.
Okay. Full of insight today, whatever it is.
Okay.
So the reason I got these two cheddars is because so many people name cheddar as their favorite cheese. Let me tell you the candidates who named cheddar as their favorite cheese. Democratic candidate for governor, Maylin Mitchell. Democratic candidate for governor, Andy Gronick. Democratic candidate for Congress, Kathy Myers. Democratic candidate for Congress, Randy Bryce.
Iron Stash with the cheddar.
Iron Stash. Republican candidate for Congress who won his election, Brian Stile, who actually named Hooks aged cheddar. He did not have a specific year, but he did say any of the Hooks aged. Huh. Governor Scott Walker, cheddar. State Senator outgoing, who was a candidate for U.S. Senate, Leah Vukmir, aged cheddar. And briefly in the state Senate, Caleb Frostman, he named a sharp-aged white cheddar, which I did not bring a white cheddar, but I felt
very Vermont of him.
Yeah,
it is. He's not. That's true. Well, and Hooks does a good white cheddar, but he talked about sort of being at deer camp and eating some white cheddar with some smoked fish, and that was a memory for him.
I don't know that I would want cheddar with my fish.
Yeah,
smoked fish.
That's fine.
It would work. It's like bacon.
Yeah. That's
cheddar
true.
and
Goes
bacon,
with everything.
that's a combo.
Yeah.
So just go with it, Lindsay. Just let it go.
As almost everyone named cheddar, I felt like I would just choose some of my favorite cheddars since no one else really had a specific favorite. So the Hook's 10 year is kind of, whenever I go visit friends who aren't from Wisconsin, I usually bring Hook's 10 year because I feel
you
like
are
that's
smart.
Just,
Yeah.
No one's going to be upset with that.
No.
And the 15 is obviously great too.
It's a bonus.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So my favorite thing about the aged cheddars, and had a conversation about this with Lieutenant Governor Rebecca Clayfish, is the crystals.
Yep.
Those crunchy crystals are just like everything to me when I'm eating cheese.
It's funny because actually I was talking with Andy Hatch from
Pleasant Ridge and
Uplands.
Yeah.
And those are actually a fault, I guess. Like they happen.
Really?
But like when you judge cheese, I guess like it's not like
I want them.
Yeah, I almost want the crystals.
The crystals are the best.
Yeah. This is I don't know. Someone should fact check me, but I remember having this conversation.
I'm sure that's true, but
no one in this room fact
like
checks. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yes.
It's one of those like flaws that is a benefit at the end
Yeah.
of the day.
No, I mean it's enjoyable and we all like. I mean,
but
the cheese crystals, we
not
all like it,
technically
right? Because they're
perfect,
salty little bursts of awesome. But I was shocked, and he's won plenty of awards for that cheese.
Yeah.
So.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny. I was writing about Riesling today, and one of the things about Riesling is like some people will say that the kerosene, gasoline, petrol thing that you smell in old Riesling in particular is a flaw, and most people say it's not, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most people say that's just part of Riesling doing what Riesling is doing, and it's amazing wine. And you have to like let it blow off or whatever. Hopefully it blows off.
Yeah.
But the idea of whether it's a flaw or an asset and that there's disagreement about that is actually part of what makes food interesting to me.
And is also actually a nexus with politics.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I mean,
like
is it a flaw or a...
Right, I mean, a
bug or a feature? Oh.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, look at you.
Look at that, tech. Almost every disagreement, it comes down to, I think, most people, with some exceptions, most people who go into politics will sit down and say, I think we all agree on where we want to get, but we disagree on how to get there. And I think that's sort of where that flaw feature thing comes into play. It's like one person may think that more spending on something is good and gets you to the place you're supposed to be. Another person might think you need to be making cuts to get you to the place that you want to be. So we've gone through many serious cheeses.
Yeah.
Oh, this is actually part of the most interesting one for me.
You were very excited about this. In fact, I brought it mostly because you were
intrigued.
Okay,
so one of the candidates, one of the people that you interviewed this past year, in the year of our Lord, 2018, said that their two favorite cheeses were Burrata, which is mozzarella with cream in the center, and it's like basically it's bad. Oh nope, now it is. It's fresher. You want it to be fresh as possible, right? To the point where like Italy, they like have it right there for you, being made in front of you. So like, look how fresh it is. And restaurants in Madison will like make it fresh. And then the other one was cold pack cheese, which I think will last past the apocalypse, probably.
I've tested it for long beyond I should. Yeah,
like it will. It's like Twinkies, right? It will last forever because it's processed with an inch of its like whatever life it had. Mm-hmm. So like those two things were so fascinating, but Bob pointed out they're both soft and spreadable, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's convenience of access. So remind us, which was the candidate?
So Attorney General-elect Josh Kaul, his two favorite cheeses are Burrata and cold pack spread, specifically the port wine cold pack spread.
Which is real good. Let's be real.
We all like it, right? No,
yeah,
Bob?
No, Bob? Oh.
I'm into it.
Okay. I don't know.
Can't wait to get down on it when I get home.
His face says lies.
Yeah. And yes, it spreads. It's easy. And it also, they both go well with other things, I think.
It's
bring things together.
Which
perhaps.
is interesting from an attorney, right? You would think like an attorney would want to make a bold stance, but no, it's an interesting, an interesting kind of connective tissue.
I went to two places to try to find port wine cold pack spread, and I couldn't find it, but I did find the Brewster House old-fashioned spreadable cheese in plum wine, which I assume is probably close. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't substitute plum wine for port if I were drinking it, but
They're both sweet,
And cheese, yeah. So this is from Schulzberg Creamery, which is located in Schulzberg, Wisconsin.
I was going to guess that for the record.
And we're gonna give this one a try. This is as close as we could get to Josh Call's favorite cheese.
This is a classic high-low pairing right now.
Yeah, we're in uncharted territory here, people. There's a bonus cheese.
But we also have like cold packed cheese and like incredibly aged, gorgeous champagne. Like this is classic.
That's high-low.
Yeah, well, it's like, your champagne pairings of like your, champagne and popcorn, champagne and chips.
Yeah. It works, and frankly, like it tastes really good, and it does remind me of growing up outside of Milwaukee and this is holiday time.
It is.
Spreadable.
Okay.
Cheese.
Speaking of holiday time, are there any of these? So taking inspiration from our legislators would be an actual, and our friendly local wine merchant here. Are there any of these pairings that you would take home to your family and be like, you know what? Everybody, just go with me, the Munster and the champagne. Like, are there any of these that you would take home with you?
Well, 100% I would take home that landmark tall grass with the fancy.
Yeah, the Tarlant.
That one.
That's my answer, too.
That'd be my dream for the holidays.
Because the cheese is so, like, it's creamy, but it's nutty. And it has all this character.
It's complex, but it's not too much.
Yeah. And it has that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, I will bring any champagne anywhere and drink it with anybody with anything. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, like, I would do any of this with all of this. And that's kind of the reason I brought the two that I brought. It's just because I thought they were, like, you don't have to really think about what they were doing. I mean, although I think the aged cheddar and the kind of the richer expression of champagne is really nice too, because like it did have a little bit more kind of fruit to it. It did have a little bit more depth, and just to be able to have that kind of intensely kind of concentrated aged flavor with the slightly richer champagne was nice too.
I agree. I mean,
although the wine is older than the cheese.
Oh my God,
that's amazing.
That's math right there.
It's math. So, were there any people who answered the question of like, what's your favorite cheese, and you were like, oh my God, yes, you are definitely a Colby or whatever?
That's a good question. I definitely felt that way about the beer question. On the cheese, yeah, maybe a little bit. So, asking Kelda Roy's her favorite cheese and her naming several very specific brands of cheese, including the Forgotten Valley cheese curds that you get at the farmer's market. I think, she is very much about being from Madison and being part of the Madison community, and I was not surprised that she would have some specific Madison-adjacent cheese preferences. Again, Dana walks when he's talking about his favorite cheeses and those cheeses coming from the Eau Claire area. I think he, much of his personality is about where he comes from. Same with Mike McCabe and the Colby thing. So in the beer thing, I would say Tony Evers named Miller Lite. And it was because he said, he comes from a time when craft beer was not really a thing. Miller Lite's a good old standby. And Scott Walker named the Leinenkugel's Summer Shandy. And for some reason, we're not sitting here drinking Miller Lite and Summer Shandy.
Sorry, guys.
I really wanted to pair the cheeses, but Bob insisted that we drink wine instead of beer.
I've had Miller Lite and Summer Shandy.
I think we did a better job here.
All right, final question, you guys. You ready?
Yes.
Lightning round. Ah! What is your favorite Wisconsin cheese and your favorite Wisconsin beer? Go, Bob.
My favorite Wisconsin cheese, hands down, no questions asked, is Pleasant Ridge Reserve. I eat that all the time. I will eat it. If I could pick one cheese to have between now and the day I die, it would be that one, without a question. My favorite Wisconsin beer, that's, I think I'm going to go with whatever Meerts is in season from Levi Funk in the Funk Factory. I think they do an amazing job. I think watching anyone who can perform at that level in Madison is really impressive. When I was in Copenhagen, I was at the Mikkeller General Store, and Levi's beers were there. And I had such an incredible amount of pride seeing that. I was floored. So that or Fantasy Factory, I think, Carbon 4, all of their beers are really great, but Fantasy Factory is the one that if I'm going to go for an IPA, that's the one I'll go for, and that's the one that I recommend to people all the time.
Nice. All right. Jessie?
My favorite Wisconsin cheese, I'm going to say, is probably a two-way tie between one of the ones we had today, the Landmark Tallgrass Reserve. I think that is just, it just goes with any mood or taste that you want to have. And also, I really like the Hooks triple play extra innings.
Oh, so good.
It's like cow, goat, and sheep. And it's just good. I don't know what to say about it. Like, it's just it's not too sharp. It's not too mild. It's a little interesting, but it kind of just goes with everything. Favorite Wisconsin beer. Bob stole a little of my thunder here. Definitely Fantasy Factory, Carbon 4. I also like pretty much everything they do. But so I do think if you're visiting Wisconsin for the first time, you should certainly have Spotted Cow. People are not wrong to recommend that as a first beer. But if you're interested in then expanding beyond that, or if you're, not as interested in the like farmhouse ale or the sort of standard like lager, I think Fantasy Factory is the way to go as IPAs go. I think even if you don't love really hoppy beers, you might try Fantasy Factory because it's not overwhelmingly bitter. It's super drinkable. And how can you pass up that label? The kitty riding on the unicorn with the lasers and the rainbow. Like, it's just, it's the best.
It's a pretty great label.
Yeah, definitely Fantasy Factory.
Nice. I'm just going to go with Dream Farm goat cheese because I love Dream Farm goat cheese. I also love Hidden Springs sheep milk feta. Pretty amazing.
Yeah. I don't know that,
it is
I'm going to try
the literal best feta in the universe. It's so, so good. And just to go out of state for 2 seconds, try the Alamar Bent River because it's amazing. It's like basically a brie, but like better and so good. So yeah, love those. And like if I had to pick a beer, it would be Oh So Infectious Groove because I like my sour beers.
And because you're not really a beer person until sour beers came along.
Until sour beers came along, and it was a gift from me. It was a gift from Wisconsin to me to say, yes, Lindsay, you should stay here.
That's right.
We will make sour beers for you.
And that Infectious Groove is good.
It's really good, and it's available generally. Like I can get it places, and I will, I'll look for my Unane and my perennials and stuff. But like that is some deliciousness that I can get. So thank you guys for coming in and eating food and drinking wine with me.
This really has been a very special crossover episode.
So special.
It's been delightful. Thank you.
It has been fun.
Cheers.
Thank you guys.
This has been a very special crossover episode of The Corner Table, a podcast about food and drink in Madison produced by the Capital Times. Our music was composed by Patrick Christians. Editing and tech support is by Eric Lawrenson. The Corner Table drops every other week, and you can subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. Follow us at Corner Table Podcast on Facebook, and find more food and drink news pretty much every day at captimes.com. I am your host, Cap Times food editor Lindsay Christians. My wish for you this week is spreadable cheese and buttery crackers. Cheers!